This is Just in Case of American Newscape, joining our friend and mentor, Joyce Rockwood, sharing improving digestion naturally, eating fermented vegetables on your path to overall vitality. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to American Newscape.
Yum, my mouth is like watering already. It's like when you think of something sour, fermented foods, doesn't that happen to you? You feel like the saliva, like your salivary glands already starting to activate?
Uh,
Am I the only
well,
one?
well, if sauerkraut is considered a fermented food, sure, absolutely. Okay.
Hi, by the way.
Hey, everybody. Okay,
Hey.
Joyce. You teach people how to master their gut health so they can avoid common digestive and other related degenerative diseases. When it comes to
Mm.
improving digestion naturally, fermented vegetables have boomed in popularity. What's your take on them, and how do we know which ones are best to buy?
First of all, I mean, I was the kid who was drinking the pickle juice out of the jar, and I've always loved very sour foods. So hopefully, if you're listening, you do too. And if you don't, here's some really great reasons why you might want to open up to it. Let's first talk about the benefits of eating fermented vegetables before I go into really how to buy them. And there are some cues that we're going to review at the end, so stay tuned. Just for a sec, I want to share, if you're looking to elevate your gut microbiome, right? So much of this is the powerful community of tiny microscopic microbes that are really uh, managing all of the body's different systems, from your digestion to your mood to immunity, sleep, and all of these other powerful things around hormones. So if you're looking to improve your gut microbiome, reestablish, rehabilitate it, if you're someone who's maybe taken a lot of antibiotics over the course of, different years of your childhood, or maybe even as an adult, cabbage is one of the easiest foods to ferment. You can even do this at home, by the way. You can buy it too, for those of you who are not DIY. But, on the surface of the vegetables, especially cabbage, you can see it like on the purple cabbage, it's very visible. You'll see like that filmy coating a lot of times. You'll see that even more so with organic vegetables. That's the lactic acid producing bacteria. I say that slowly because it can be a tongue twister. And that's what's in probiotics, right? So if you're buying little capsules of probiotics, that's where it's coming from. And when we eat raw veggies, we're taking in some of that lactic acid producing bacteria. And that bacteria is what's creating the nutrients for our body. And it has many benefits. So when you see the film on the outside of that purple cabbage, that's good bacteria. That's the stuff we want, right? Now, if the outside of that cabbage, when you buy it, looks like, someone's been playing kickball with it or something like that, because that can happen, you can peel those back. If it seems unsightly, if you want to make it at home, you can just like slice it up real thin as possible. And then you're going to put it in a big bowl with a little bit of salt. The recipe, actually, if you want to make this at home, you can jot this down, and maybe we should put it in the show notes. 4 pounds of cabbage and about 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay. Or I should say, yeah, I think it's 2 teaspoons of salt for every 4 pounds. I'm going to double check that and we'll put it in the show notes. You're going to just mix all of that up in a big bowl with your hands and then let it sit. You really want to like kind of crunch it around in there and let it sit for like 30 to 60 minutes. And you're going to see all of these, all the juices of the cabbage start to pull out, right? And that's going to start to be able, so it can start to marinate. And you really want to massage it well. And then you're going to transfer that into some jars with these little weights that go on top. There are companies that actually make these cool little fermenting kits. And then you will press it down so that the liquid is coming above the cabbage. And then you put on this airlock lid, which is going to keep it really well packed. And the weights help to maintain the fermentation process. And the airlock lid prevents any airborne yeast or any kind of unwanted bacteria to get inside of that jar. All right. So that's the gases get out, and it also keeps the fermentation process steady. And then like 7 to 20 days later, you can have your own sauerkraut, which is pretty awesome. And, the beauty of this is that this is probably the most affordable way to get probiotics into your system. And all you need is about a forkful a day. There's a company, I believe, called culturesforhealth.com. culturesforhealth.com that makes these cool fermentation kits. So if you're someone who wants to just make this stuff at home, it's pretty awesome and pretty simple. But let's talk about how to purchase your own if you're not really the DIY type. Okay. If you want to buy sauerkraut, or if you're looking to buy naturally fermented veggies, you really want to make sure there's absolutely no sugar, no vinegar, and then no other added kind of ingredients that seem a little bit, questionable, added weird food flavorings like shrimp flavoring and things like that you'll sometimes see in kimchi. And the reason you don't want to have any sugar or vinegar in there is because the fermentation process, when it happens naturally, it just happens with the veggie and the salt itself, and then the container and the period of time that it's sitting in there. And so people are kind of sometimes trying to speed up that process, and vinegar is actually going to create the antithesis of the gut microbiome balance that we're trying to bring about. All right. So no vinegar, no sugar, and no weird food flavorings like shrimp flavoring or anything like that. Now, of course, garlic is totally fine. Onions, totally fine. Nothing wrong with those things. But keep away from the sugar and keep away from the vinegar additives in your fermented veggies.
So be careful about your kimchi varieties.
Yeah, they typically have sugar in them. Typically have sugar and vinegar.
And or fish, and or sea cucumbers, and or oysters. And I mean, in Korea, there's about 100 different varieties, and every family has their own favorite recipe. Burying the kimchi pot in the backyard and then recovering it. But no, that's great. I've never made my own sauerkraut this way, but I think I will, because I love sauerkraut.
It's so easy to make too. And literally, I'm talking pennies per forkful in terms of probiotics. It really is one of the most beneficial and easy ways to start rehabilitating your gut. If you are someone who struggles with constipation, gas, bloating, you have a lot of brain fog, fatigue, you really should be eating at least a forkful a day of naturally fermented veggies. And you can find a lot of other types of veggies too. There's burdock, carrot, string beans, beets. Trying to think of some of the other things that I typically see that are so delicious, and just adding that to your big salad before you eat your cooked food and kind of tossing it around in there just adds a really nice sort of zing of a flavor while also helping you to build your
Now,
gut,
have you made
gut,
your own
gut
fermented
bacteria.
carrots?
I've not. Can you believe I'm so almost embarrassed to tell you I've never made my own naturally fermented veggies. It's like on my list of things to want to do with my next group coaching program. I'm like, I think people would really benefit and have so much fun and see how easy this is to do. So yeah, note to
Okay.
self.
Okay. All right.
Have
Tip
you ever
number.
made your own?
I have not. I've
Oh,
made pickles, and
oh,
I
okay.
have, canned chilies and hot peppers and things like that. But it entails salt. It entails some of those recipes entail some sugar and just some things we probably don't need in there. So I think
Yeah.
it's just a matter of compromising. And I think you could take a lot of the old family recipes and bring them back home, like the cabbage, because that's simple. 4 pounds, don't even bother weighing it. Just get yourself a nice solid head of cabbage and go to work. That's going to be about four
Yeah,
pounds.
I think it's actually like, yeah, big head. I think the recipe, actually, I'm going to double check. We'll put it in the show notes. I think the recipe is 1 pound of cabbage, and then 2 teaspoons of like Himalayan salt. So
Well,
one whole cabbage might be 4 pounds, but when you're doing the ratios.
and I
Anyway.
remember years ago from a nutritionist, try and go with the red or purple cabbage instead of the green, because the nutrients and the enzymes in
Hmm.
there are considered much better. And if you don't
Yeah,
like it, it's an
typically,
acquired taste. You have to eat it and eat it and eat it.
typically, yeah, the phytochemicals when we see brighter colors are going to be more abundant in those, darker
Right.
color foods.
Okay,
So
back to you. I will be quiet.
back to me.
Yeah.
Is there a question?
Is there a
Closing
question?
thoughts?
Are we ready for closing thoughts? Well, okay.
It's a quickie today. I know people sometimes they got to, run to the next thing, and
Okay, then
trying to
would you
just
please
go by
review
life.
the three tips?
Yes. No vinegar, no sugar, and no added other weird things like shrimp flavoring or food colorings. Um, you know, like I said, garlic and onions and things of that nature are fine, but we do not want to see vinegar and sugar in your naturally fermented vegetables.
Okay, and the thing I picked up is really massage that cabbage
Yeah.
and give it some time to ferment. You know, be patient, let it ferment, let it do its thing, and enjoy. Um, what are your what are our next steps? I assume, Joyce, if I want some more information about this, I could do an intake call with you, and you would be happy to spend a couple minutes talking about fermenting vegetables with me before we got down to business.
I'll probably go into something a little bit more deep, into something a little bit deeper. But, here's the thing. Someone was just messaging me before I hopped on live with you, and their daughter is dealing with, issues with cystic ovarian cysts, okay, and very painful menstrual cycles. So no matter what is going on, like, I think a lot of times people often fail to consider what their health struggles are actually costing them. And, it's always more than the investment in better health, which affords us lifelong vitality, always, because the time we're losing trying to figure these things out on our own is precious, and we don't ever get that back. So if you enjoyed this information on, sourpuss, naturally fermented vegetables, how to bucker up and get your microbiome in shape, and you want to learn more about digestive health and detoxification, there's 3 ways to start working with me. The first way is to go right to my website, joycerockwood.com. We've got it in the show notes for you, where you can find all of my social media links and follow me and learn more that way. Okay. And then the second is to check out the freebies that are listed on my website to start learning more about some of my free trainings. You get some free downloads that way as well. And then the third way is to use the link below this video so you can book a no-cost call with me, which is really ideal for someone who is truly struggling with their health right now. And if you're serious about getting to the root cause of that and you're looking for solutions in this moment, let's have a quick call. I can share a step-by-step process with you, and we can map out what that new level of vitality can look like so that you can stop spinning your wheels and trying to figure this stuff out on your own.
Okay. This has been Justin Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing Boost Gut Health, how to choose the right fermented foods. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts, additional information, and links are provided in this video's Read More. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel and to stay connected. And please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn some healthy revelations and how not to go bananas.